Good afternoon. This evening we're going to be working on my 2006 Sportster. What am I doing exactly? Well, I'm getting rid of this skinny front end. While I think it looks good in certain takes, I'm one that likes to ride the curves, do some technical courses, and it's just that front tire is just not enough. I generally run down all the way to the edge when I'm on a technical course. That definitely limits my ability to do it in an efficient manner, or the most efficient manner, should I say. So I have decided I'm going to go ahead and convert my entire front end to a Sportster 48 front end with wheels. I got a deal on eBay. I got the complete front forks with the front and rear wheel. The rear tire is gonna need to be replaced here very shortly. So, it is what it is. I'm gonna begin with the front end though, because that's what I wanted to do first. My rear tire's got plenty of meat left. I'm gonna ride it as long as I can and kind of just go from there. That way, when I need to replace tires, I'll replace the new 16-inch front wheel with the 16-inch rear wheel, and then once I replace them, all the tires will be fresh at that point. But I'm not gonna do it just yet, as my rear tires got plenty of meat. Okay, so give you a brief overview of how I'm gonna start disassembling my front end. All right, so one of the first things we're gonna do is we're going to take a Allen head. I believe it's a 1/4 inch Allen head right there. We're gonna go ahead and take this front fender off first. Right, once that front fender's off, I'm gonna go ahead and come down to the brake caliper assembly. This brake caliper assembly is a 12-point socket, 10 millimeter. All right, don't try to put a 6-point. It ain't really gonna work. 12-point is the best way to get these. That way you don't ruin these. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those off. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and secure this with a bungee cord or something up here, or I might just lay it right here. I've done that before, and it sits just fine while I'm working on the front end. So those are the first two things I'm gonna go for. All right, and then immediately following, we're gonna go ahead and remove the axle nut. There's also a washer behind there. You got a spacer on the other end. If I'm not mistaken, it's pretty free flowing. I'm gonna go ahead and use something, right, a screwdriver or something, a pick, to hold that in place while you unbolt the other side. Immediately following, we're gonna go ahead and pull this nut off. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's like a 5/8 or a 1/2 inch. All right, I don't know off the top of my head exactly right at this moment. The back side is another Allen head bolt, and that's really about it. I believe there are washers on the inside, so you just want to make sure those washers, you don't lose any of that if your intent is to put the same front end on. Following that, all right, we're gonna go ahead and go to the forks. All right, we have the handlebars. The handlebars are going to be that same 1/4 inch Allen head bolts. Same thing for these right here. This is just for the cover that secures the wiring harness to the speedometer. Once we go ahead and do that, we'll lay the bars safely to where it's not damaging the paint. My paint's 15 years old. It's probably seen better days, but I don't want to intentionally mar the paint even more. Following that, we're gonna go ahead and remove the Allen bolt right here, so we can go ahead and remove the headlight. I'm gonna try to get away with not having to remove the harness for the headlight. I don't know how well that's gonna work, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a whirl. If not, I'll have to lift that tank and remove the wire, just so I can go ahead and get it done. Once we remove that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the forks, top and bottom fork. Right, those are, if I'm not mistaken, a T45 Torx head. All right, go ahead and remove those. And that's really it for the assembly. You will have to remove these if you really intend to reuse them for your other fork assembly. I believe the 48s come with their own, and they do, so I don't really have to worry about taking them off. So that's just one less step that I gotta do. And then once all that is disassembled, we'll go ahead and inspect everything and move on to reassembly. All right, so next we are going to go ahead and remove that axle nut. That is a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter. They both fit about the same. They got a little bit of wiggle, so I guess just use whichever one feels comfortable. On this end, we have the Allen head bolt, which is a 5/16. And on that back end, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be a 9/16. I'm correct. 9/16 on that back end. All right, don't lose any of those, any of that hardware. Keep it with you, especially if you're reinstalling. All right, next, we've already removed the wheel, the brake caliper, the front fender. Not in that order exactly, but Next, we're going to go ahead and go with the upper and lower pinch bolts to remove the forks. Once we remove those, we'll go ahead and go to the headlight, which I'll actually probably do the headlight first. I don't know yet. Anyway, we got to remove the headlight and the fork assembly next. All right, so the forks are off. I didn't exactly have to remove the pinch bolts completely out. They're gonna come out anyway. Well, at least the bottom ones, because of my turn signals, but for the moment I didn't have to. All right, so this is where we're at right now. Probably took me about 30-45 minutes, maybe an hour. I was chit-chatting with my buddy. Came out, he's got a Sportster 48, so he's just checking out how my modification's going on my old Sporty here. But I got the triple tree out. There's the top fork, there's the bottom fork, right? These go one on top of the other. Once you remove this bolt, right? This bolt is a 15/16. Goes right there on top of the top triple tree. Remove it. This just slides out really easy. The bearing, head bearing on the top is installed. And I'm gonna go ahead and probably just let it ride, right? I'm a little risky, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let it ride. Why not replace it? Well, I didn't buy any, I was ill prepared. But anyway, enough about that. The bottom one takes a few taps on the top, slides right out. The bottom bearing comes out with it. with a cap on the bottom. As you can see, these bearings probably needed to be replaced. They still got a pretty decent amount of grease, but that grease is probably about 15 years old, considering this whole thing is an 06 and it only had 6,000 miles when I bought it. So I can only imagine that a lot of these parts that are on here are stock, haven't been serviced or anything. So we're gonna go ahead and just go with it. I'm gonna go ahead and see, and hopefully this front end will just slide right in. All right, took a quick pause so I could fit this in and test fit it. But I went ahead and slid it in and secured it loosely with the head bolt. And it seems to be a direct fit, right? You got the, I can't turn it all the way because of the wires, but you got the same stoppers. And everything seems to have slid in nicely, a direct replacement, which is what my guess was, considering that the Sportster frame hasn't had any major changes up until the 22 model. So it's been, I don't know, what, 20 years? Not an expert on Sportsters, but I know for sure this frame has not undergone any major changes, especially the later model Sportsters. So I'm gonna go ahead and push forward with buttoning this down. I will continue recording the process as I button it up, and hopefully I can get the front end on without any problems. All right, so I have lightly secured the front end, as you can see, and it seems to be operating relatively smoothly. Everything, I've only buttoned up the upper triple tree pinch bolts just to keep it secured for the moment. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is go ahead and install the handlebars. Sorry for that delay, I was looking off to the side. I'll go ahead and install the handlebars. That includes putting the speedo back on. And then I'll just go from there. All right, so I have secured the handlebars just to make sure they stay in position. They probably won't stay there, but I wanted to go ahead and just have them secured and not just laying around. I went ahead and put my, well, can't have that happen, and that's probably why you want to secure it, but I'm lazy and I always try to find shortcuts to do things. It doesn't always work out for me. Anyway, back to the subject. I went ahead and laid my lights where I'm gonna want them. I got my turn signals, right? Got my headlight right here in the middle. I went ahead and pre-routed where I want all my wires to be. So unlike the newer Sportsters, or maybe even just the OEM routing and materials used, I went aftermarket and I bought black stainless steel lines. If you can see, right, they're just coated in some black transparent vinyl, but they're stainless steel lines, and they did not come with, and neither did my old Sporty, come with the steel brake lines that you traditionally get from here and routed to the bottom of this, right, where they connect and then they route. It only came with a solid stainless steel line, which is okay. My previous installation on my narrow glides, I actually did secure them here. You can actually see where I had them, right? So I had that bolt in right here. I routed them through here, and then had it routed up here. But because these lines are actually meant for 15 to 17 inch apes, I got them on sale. I definitely don't have 15 to 17 inch apes. I have 10 to 12 inch apes. I don't even know exactly what they are, but I think they're 10s, maybe 12s. But I got cables that fit 15 to 17s. So now I have all this excess. But I'm okay with that, right? I'll just tie them all up, and it's good for me. I don't care. So trying to secure it the way it would have been, I wouldn't have been able to secure it the right way. I probably still could, but the routing and the excess length that I have just aren't going to let it look nice. So I'm just going to route them all together, get them all nice and tidy, and call it a day. For me, that's all right. Here we go. Front forks are just about assembled. Really just need to be buttoned up on the top end. I went ahead, put the headlight on. It's definitely going to need to be aimed again. Secured the brake line on the bottom. Instead of running the brake line to this little fastener area that would usually house the, you can see it right here. I would normally put it right there, but because I don't have the steel brake line, the solid steel brake line, I'm gonna go ahead and just forego that and run it back in here so I can secure it to the wires, or in some way, shape, or form. I'll figure that out when I get there. That's how I previously had it on the other one. They're just kind of floating. These were connected. I also had that gauntlet fairing up front, which is right here, which it will no longer fit, or at least not the mounting hardware, but I mean, the fairing will fit. It's the mounting hardware that is now obsolete for my bike. Okay, so we've made it this far. It's been about an hour and a half since I've started from removing my narrow glide into installing this Sportster 48 mid glide front end. So about 90 minutes, not too bad. I got to make a couple of adjustments. I do have to do this because I kind of just tacked it on there just to get it out of the way. I'll readjust it here shortly. I did leave this bolt right here. I don't know what it's for. I'll have to go look at my buddy's bike, see what he's got going on right there. But regardless, I obviously don't need it. So I'll have to take that headlight off again before I re-aim it and remove it or tighten it down, whatever. I went ahead and torqued these. I didn't want to go ahead and waste y'all's time with watching me torque bolts, right? So I put some blue Loctite. The torque specs call for 30 to 35 foot-pounds, so I went ahead and installed them, tightened them initially down to 30, and then went all the way back around and torqued them again, and I went up to 35 that way. All right, everyone, so I had to take a quick pause, get some water, it's a little warm, and get this rotor mounted on the wheel. I completely forgot I didn't have it on there, so it took a moment to install the rotor. Installing the rotor is pretty straightforward. Go ahead and seat it on here. I went ahead and lightly resurfaced everything because it, did have a little corrosion just from the years of use. So I took a light brush to it. That ball right there, I think that one's like, I don't know, like 200 or 300 grit. Anyway, so I just took it real quick, polished it up, polished off all the surface corrosion that was on there just to get it nice and clean. Nice clean surface to mate to, and I'm not carrying anything extra that I didn't put on there myself. So if I'm not mistaken, these call for something like, I don't know, 17 to 23 foot-pounds. So I went ahead and just seated it, tightened them nice and slow till it was nice and flush, and then torqued them. So it's pretty straightforward. No need to waste your time discussing and going step by step with it. All right, so we got the front end on, just about complete, right? The only things left to do are to tighten the axle nut, which is going to be 50 to 55 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then the other thing I need to do is, sorry, it's a little dark, it's getting late, is see if this is going to mount up and actually work, because I'm using the original 2006 front caliper. So we'll see. More to follow on that. All right, everyone, so I'm pretty much done. All right, so the wheel is on. One of the last things I did was tighten that pinch bolt. All right, that pinch bolt, I believe, is the 9/16 on the nut end, and a 5/16 Allen head. Torqued that to 35. Started with 30, then went to 35. As you can see, I got my spacers in. Right. The axle nut, tightened that down to about 50 to 55 foot-pounds. Coming back up. I don't have the fender or the brace yet. I'm still searching online for those, preferably in a similar shade of red that I have, but I don't know if that's gonna be possible. But I'm okay if I find a black one at a decent price. I still have to put my turn signals on. I'm gonna have to take them off of this bracket because these were for the 39s, and because these no longer, yeah, they no longer work with this application. So it looks like I'm going to have to rewire them, because I did cut them short to put on the triple trees when they were on the handlebars. So I'm either gonna have to rewire them and put them up top, or I'm going to have to order the correct mount and put them on the triple tree again, which requires me to wait, which I didn't really think about. But it's much easier for me to rewire than it is to wait for a few days. Once I rewire them, I can always fold them down to fit the triple tree again. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm pretty much done. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope at a minimum you found this entertaining if you didn't learn anything. But if you're looking to put a 48 on your earlier model Sportster, it fits, right? I'm gonna test the function. Thanks.